Hi guys, it's Bella and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm so excited. We are doing another monthly wrap-up video, but this month is for the month of March. This was my lowest book number month so far this year. If you guys watched my February wrap-up, you would know that I read like 31 books that month. March was a little bit less. I read 17 books in the month of March, so if you're interested in seeing what I read, some notes about them, and what I rated them, just keep on watching. We started off the month with Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton, which H.D. Carlton is like an auto-buy author for me. I've loved all of her books. She wrote The Haunting, Adeline, Cat and Mouse Duet, Does It Hurt? So Where's Molly is like a continuation of a character that we learn about in Hunting Adeline. I was really excited for this book, but unfortunately it just did not hit the mark for me. I rated it a 2. It was really short. I mean, it's 212 pages, so really short, but I couldn't really get into it the entire time. It is on Kindle Unlimited if you want to check it out. It is extremely spicy, like all of her books are. It is dark romance, but I didn't feel like it was like that dark, considering all of the dark themes are really in the Cat and Mouse Duet. I didn't really see the point of this book though. Like, I wanted to know about Molly and more about her like during the time of what she went through in the Cat and Mouse Duet, not necessarily what happened after and how she's recovering. And it honestly just felt like a book that was there just to give you like some smut and not really add to this story at all. So this was a 2 for me. Unfortunately, it was a letdown. Then I read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This book is a continuation of the Cruel Prince series. It follows Oak, which is like Jude's younger brother in the original books. I rated this a 3. I wanted to love it, but it didn't compare to Cruel Prince for me. It's told in the perspective of Ren, who was in the Cruel Prince series, but they're now grown up. It was a fun continuation of the Cruel Prince like universe and, you know, adding to the story. But even when I was reading it, I was kind of like waiting to get into it, and then when it ended, I was like, oh, I will be fine if I never continue this series. So unfortunately, didn't love it, but I rated it a 3. Then I read The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, and this I don't know if I'm just like messed up in the head, because I loved this book. It's so short. I mean, I read it in like barely 2 hours. It's less than 200 pages. It's like an adult version of Peter Pan. So they're all aged up. It's super, super smutty. Honestly, it had some smut that I've never even like conquered in other books before or came across. And I was like, whoa. Wasn't expecting to read about that in like a sexy Peter Pan story, but go off. I know that there's 3 more books in this series, which I actually just bought. They're on my TBR, so I can't wait to continue this series. Then I read the infamous If He Had Been With Me, and I kind of knew what this book was about going into it because it's so highly talked about on TikTok, but I loved it. I did rate it a 5 stars. One thing I loved about it the most is that the chapters are so short, and it makes you feel like you're just flying through the book. It was a really similar story to the book One Day though, which has been in the media like crazy recently because of the Netflix show. So it's like the same concept as One Day. So I kind of like, again, I knew what was going to happen at the end. It was really, really sad, but I don't understand why there was a second book. Like, I have it in front of me. It's If Only I Had Told Her. I've heard nothing but bad things about that book because this did not need a second story at all. It didn't. But I did rate it a 5 stars. I don't know if I'll ever read the next one because I feel like it'll ruin it for me. I don't know, we'll see. Then I read Happily Never After by Miss Lynn Painter, my favorite queen. This is the first book that I've ever put some tabs in. I've never annotated before, but there were some good lines in this book. Like, let me see. We love it. It says, so effing sexy that it just might kill me. So this book is basically about a girl who's about to get married, and she does not want to get married and feels like she has to. And at the point in the wedding where the minister, or, you know, the officiant asks, does anyone object? A guy gets paid to object. And then they start teaming up and they start objecting at other people's weddings. When they know that the person doesn't want to get married, they start getting hired for other weddings. And then they, you know, they develop a little love moment. But it was a really unique story. Like, I just thought it was, yeah, a unique story. I gave it 4 stars. I did really enjoy both main characters. A lot of good banter, lots of good romance, and Lynn Painter is like an auto-buy author for me as well. So she can do no wrong in my eyes. And I decided to go down the Caraval route. I haven't continued on after this one, but it is on my list. So I did read Caraval. I gave it 4 stars. Loved the magic. Like, I felt like I was just in this magical universe. I loved it. There were so many twists and turns in this book. It was so fun, and there were lots of moments where I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then one of my favorite things about it was when there were letters on the pages. That's just like one of my favorite things that an author can do. Like, let me find one. Like letters like that. I think it's such a fun addition to the book, so I'm excited to continue on this series. Then we continued on after The Stolen Heir. Prisoner's Throne came out in March, and I actually went to a book signing for Holly Black, and I got a bunch of books signed, including this one. And so I was like, okay, I need to read it. So while The Stolen Heir was Ren's point of view, this one we're back in Oak's point of view. And I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than The Stolen Heir. I still gave it a 3. I didn't love this duology that much. Honestly, if you were to ask me what happened in the books, I don't think I could even tell you, but it did set up the next story, and if you know, you know. Then I read The Fury, and this is the same author that wrote The Silent Patient, which is one of my favorite books. So I was really excited going into this. I rated it 4 stars, lots and lots of twists and turns. There are so many plot twists at the end, like it makes you think it's going one way and you're like, okay, and then it twists. And then it twists again, and you're kind of like thrown all over the place, and you're like, what is real life? What is the truth? There will be full chapters or full pages of storyline, and then the next one would be, just kidding, that's actually not how it happened. And you'd be like, oh. So you're kind of like in the mind of someone that's changing the story as it goes. Anyway, I gave this a 4 stars. Then I read The Lake by Natasha Preston. This is, I would say she's an auto-buy author for me too, even though I don't love her books. I like don't love them. I rated this a 3. It was a really easy read, a YA thriller, I would say. I didn't love like the villain choice though, like in the end, because it's like a true crime thriller mystery. Did not love the ending and who ended up being like the villain of the story. I thought it was so dumb. Last page ends off on like a giant cliffhanger, like all of her books do, and it makes you so infuriated. So 3 stars. Oh my gosh, okay, so then I read The Teacher by Freida McFadden, and fun fact about me, I have been a hater of Freida. Hater. I read like 4 of her books last year, hated all of them, and I was like, she's just not for me. I'm never gonna read a book of hers again. But then this one came out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. And so I bought it. I bought the physical copy, but then it was also on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it on there for free if you want. And this book redeemed her for me. This I gave 4 stars. I was really impressed. I was hooked. I read it straight in one night. I could not put it down. There are so many twists and turns, and again, it's just like The Fury. Like, it was just like, it would give you a conclusion and then it would change it, and you were like, oh my god, what is real life? Like, this is crazy. And then the epilogue revealed something even more insane, to the point where I almost just gave this book a 5 stars, because I continued to be stunned the entire time. And I would say this was a 4.5. It's really close to a 5-star read for me. It just kept me shocked, and I did not guess. Like, I could not have guessed what happened, you know? In 5 years. This book was not what I was expecting, but in the best way possible. A 4 stars. It's emotional, it's about found family. It's quite the opposite of what you think is actually going to happen, and it was a really quick read. I think it's like 200 pages. It's basically a girl who's living her life, she's engaged, blah blah blah. She goes to sleep and she wakes up and she is 5 years in the future with a different man, different ring on her finger, different apartment. She's so confused, and then she goes the next day, she wakes back up in her normal life, and then she ends up like finding the guy who is in the future timeline, and it just doesn't make sense. So it kind of walks you through how she ends up in that scenario 5 years in the future. Definitely was not what I was expecting at all, but I definitely recommend this book. I did give it a 4 stars. Then I read Sunkissed by Casey West, which is a really cute, quick summer vibe read. It's a cute YA romance, but there's barely any romance, okay? It's basically about this girl that goes to like a family summer camp and meets like the bad boy musician that works at the camp. This is Chai, anyway. And it's all about her getting the confidence to do something that she never thought she'd be able to do. That's like primarily what this book was about. I mean, it was like barely any romance. It was cute. It was a cute summer read. Then I read Better Than the Movies by Miss Lynn Painter. I gave it a 4 stars. Okay, so it had the fake dating trope, which is basically my favorite trope ever. Lots of cute banter. It's childhood friends / enemies to lovers and boy next door. So cute. 4 stars. Definitely recommend this book. And then I was in a Lynn Painter mood, so then I read Betting on You. Didn't love it as much. I gave it a 3.5. It is fun because it's like a dual point of view, a dual POV between the guy and the girl. I will say points to Lynn because this book starts off in Alaska, and if you didn't know, I live in Alaska, so it was really fun that they both started off in Alaska. It also has the fake dating trope. They're co-workers, and something about her books is there's always like family trauma or childhood trauma of some sort that the main character always has to work through. Do you see her trying to get her toy? Ma'am! Then I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It's dual point of view, small town boy, rich city girl, lots of cute banter, and like a really appropriate amount of spice for a romance. She is definitely going to become one of my favorite authors. I already know. I was obsessed with this book, so much so that I immediately went into Yours Truly, which follows a character from this book. This was a 5-star read for me, and it is so rare that I rate a romance 5 stars, but this book, I'm gonna carry this book with me for life. Yours Truly, 5 stars. They do the fake dating trope, but it was genuinely the best fake dating trope I've ever read. Like, I could not believe what I was reading. It was so good. I was giddy, giggling, kicking my freaking feet the entire time. And what I love about it is that the male main character has severe anxiety, and as someone with crippling anxiety, I really could relate to him. And normally I feel like it's the girl that has the, you know, dilemma, should I say, but it was the man, and I loved that. And one of my favorite parts about this book is they pass letters back and forth, and there are like full pages of letters that they pass back and forth because they work together, and that's how they communicate, and it is so cute. Last book I read, the 17th book, was Do Not Disturb by Freida McFadden. I really enjoyed this book, but I gave it a 3 stars. I loved it. I was hooked, but the ending, ruined it for me. But it was a really quick read. And then the concept is that it's basically a girl starts off at the very first chapter, she gets rid of her husband. She commits the crime, he's dead, and she decides to go on the run. And then a bunch of stuff happens. There's more suspicious activity going on. She almost, you know, and then the ending with like the reveal, I just didn't love it. So I gave it a 3 stars, but Freida, you're still okay in my mind. Like, I'm reading a Freida book right now that I'm liking, so I'll talk about that in my April wrap up. That was my April monthly wrap up, all 17 books that I read this month. If you guys have read any of the books that I talked about, oh my god, don't forget to mention them in the comments and tell me your thoughts on them. Give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I will see you guys maybe next week, this week, with a brand new video. Bye!